James.
Of the world's population, 60% of its young people, generates 60% of global economic growth. Statistics provide the narrative behind the region's remarkable transition from poverty to prosperity. But statistics also show challenges and gaps that remain. The Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific is proud to celebrate its 50th anniversary. That's 50 years of assisting the region to collect reliable data to further economic and social development.
Congratulations, Golden Jubilee. The government has supported it and is eager to work for the future support.
The Statistical Institute's history mirrors the development of statistical policy in the region. In the 1970s, the Institute's first training programs were focused mainly on teaching the fundamentals of statistics. But by the 1990s, criteria for country development had shifted to focusing on people and their capabilities, like the Human Development Index, and the Institute adapted. In the 2000s, the Institute evolved once again, expanding training to encompass the Millennium Development Goals, teaching new statistical areas on poverty, hunger, and health. And in 2015, the Institute underwent its biggest change to date. The introduction of the Sustainable Development Goals set out new requirements for governments in tracking progress on the environment, energy, and inequality, and the Institute updated its programs to follow this. Over the past 50 years, the Institute has trained 21,000 statisticians and policy analysts from 145 countries and territories. It's also kept up to date with the evolution of technology, from microcomputers to the internet to today's big data revolution, encompasses citizen-generated data and satellite imagery. Across the region, there have been
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jennifer Van Houten. I'm the Director of the Statistics Division at UNSCAP. I'm afraid we're just having a little bit of trouble with our sound here this morning, but hopefully you can hear us well, wherever you may be. This morning we a closing session of the 2020 Asia Pacific Statistics Week, and it's my great pleasure to have with us a very, very illustrious lineup of people to speak with us this morning. We have just seen the video of the 50th celebrations of our Premier Statistical Training Institute, CEAP, and it's my pleasure now to invite the Executive Secretary of FCAP and the Under Secretary General for the United Nations, Ms. Amida Alazabana, also former Minister from Indonesia who has a long record of working with the statistics. Please, Ibu Amida, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. Dear colleagues, a very good morning to all of you. It is my pleasure to be here at the Asia Pacific Statistics Week. I'm very pleased to learn of the high enthusiasm and interest in this event. I'm looking forward to hear the keynote speech by John Pollinger a bit later, as well as the reflections on the Statistics Week on a very timely topics of importance. Yeah, so I look at the agenda coming up soon, very, very important topics, which are engaging users and investing in statistics, assuring quality and instilling trust in statistics, integrated statistics for integrated analysis, modernizing statistic business processes, and also having the requisite skill sets. Yeah. So I believe papers that were presented during the Statistics Week, as well as the discussions ensued, will result, I hope, yeah, in a certain recommendation, of course, pragmatic and including the pragmatic and practical recommendations, in which also I hope that the statistics community can take these forward. And I'm sure also some of the recommendation will be further deliberated at the upcoming statistical committee that will be convened by ESCAP in August of this year. So why this is important? Yep, because again, for two reasons. We are all in Asia Pacific with more than half the global population, and before the COVID-19, one of the dynamic economies and technological leaders and so on and so forth. But of course, yeah, all the development challenges remain. As all of us committed to the 2030 agenda, which calls for leave no one behind. And for this to be materialized, data and statistics are certainly key. Yes, so therefore, the theme of the Asia Pacific Week I very much welcome, which is to support the leave no one behind, and also the leave, this is very interesting, the leave nowhere behind, which reinforces, yeah, the focus, yeah, of the statistics work. And even now with COVID-19 and its ensuing impact, the socio-economic impact, this is even more important. How, yeah, to respond effectively to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19, targeting the segment of the population, including the segment of the economy that is most impacted, that is most needed of relief and assistance, would require good data and statistics. Not least important is the continuous effort to build the institution, in which case, of course, the national statistical offices across the region. Last but not least, I would like also to a little bit reflect back and share with you the relevance from my past experience in Indonesia as Minister of National Development, as well as, the ministry oversee the National Statistical Agency, which is very important, yeah, to continuously for the statistical agency or offices to build the capacity of of the offices, enhance official statistics, the importance of transparency and accountability, as well as the importance of innovation. Yeah, as is now with big data, with all these various type of data, real-time data, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and also the need for policymakers to make quick decisions to respond to emerging crises. Finally, may I express my sincerest thanks to all of you that have submitted papers to the conference, and also to congratulate all of you whose papers are accepted. And also to congratulate, I was informed, to authors who will have papers selected to be progressed as submission to the Statistical Journal of the Institute of Association of Official Statistics. Thank you. Over to you, Gemma.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ibu and Nida. We've just heard there from the Under-Secretary General and the Executive Secretary of SCAP, who is a very strong supporter of good statistics and good evidence. And as you heard, as previously the Minister overseeing National Development in Indonesia, in a previous role had a very strong relationship with BPS Indonesia, the National Statistics Office. So thank you very much for joining us, and congratulating all the authors and for this week. I would now have, it's my great pleasure now to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. John Pullinger. John is currently the president of the International Association of Official Statistics. He's the former UK national statistician. He also was the chair of the UN Statistical Commission when the global SDG indicators were negotiated through the Commission and put forward to the UN ECOSOC. So John has a long history in statistics, and as president of the International Association of Official Statistics, my great pleasure to welcome John, calling us all the way from London this morning. Over to you. Thank you, John.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for that introduction, Gemma. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you all today. On the 1st of January every year, the Asia-Pacific region is always the first to greet the new year with spectacular firework displays off Sydney Harbour Bridge and celebrations in cities and towns and villages around the Pacific region. Each day, the Asia-Pacific region is the first to greet the new dawn. And this week, the Asia-Pacific region has shown itself to be at the forefront of the new norm for official statistics. Congratulations. Can I have my slides up, Gemma, please?
Certainly. So, John, we have the slide with the beautiful hold on, we're just getting them up there for you, John. Just a moment. We had it up for a moment. Boy, are you able to put those up?
Gemma.
Yep.
As well as being the first with the sunrise, your region is also the first to say goodbye to the old day. This is a Fiji sunset. I hope we have some colleagues here from Fiji to recognise the view. It was taken in February, only 4 months ago, just before the old world slipped away into darkness, awaiting the new dawn. And so much seems to have happened since then. It's been like life in slow motion, but slowly and surely the new dawn is coming. But what will it hold for us as individuals, for our families, our communities, our countries and people across the world? What will be the challenges and the opportunities of the new normal? Gemma, with her team, has done an amazing job getting the programme for this conference together. It's shown the desire of the Asia-Pacific region to be first in statistics, as well as with the sunrise and the sunset. Congratulations to everyone who's been involved. And congratulations to the Under-Secretary General for hosting this important occasion. When I and my friends at the IOS first heard about this conference, we'd expected it to be a good week. We've not been disappointed, and we're keen that it's remembered. As the Under-Secretary General has already said, the editor of the IOS Journal has been amongst you all week, looking out for star papers that we can publish and make available to others who have not been able to join us this week, so that people around the world can benefit and continue to benefit. Next slide, please. The IOS Journal is the place to find out about the latest developments in official statistics. This week, the June issue has been published with some great articles, including on how official statistics has responded to the challenges of COVID-19. I particularly liked the papers by my old boss, Len Cook from New Zealand, who went into a lot of detail about the methodological challenges and opportunities and looked at how well we have responded. And another paper from my good friend Jean-Luc Tavernier, who describes what it was like to be leading a national statistical organisation in France as the pandemic struck his country, how they adapted so quickly, how they thought completely out of the box, how they produced the statistics the country need to work out how to act. Publication of your papers will ensure the incredible work that goes on in this region also reaches a global audience. And if you haven't checked out the journal recently, you can find it easily at officialstatistics.com. And of course, you can find it for free if you join the IOS, which is also easy to do by Googling Join IOS, where you'll find an easy way to be part of our fabulous global community, in exchange, of course, for only a very small outlay of cash. Anyway, enough of commercials. What you've been doing this week matters. It matters a lot. The recent weeks, the weeks since I watched the sun go down in Fiji, have been a dark time in many of our countries. Next slide, please. There has been tragedy that has touched our families and communities in all nations. As official statisticians, we've not been immune from that tragedy and those challenges. But in our work, we've been like the moon, glimmering over the shadows as we try to get a picture of the unfamiliar landscape that surrounds us. As the new reality begins to dawn, we need to shine ever more brightly so that everyone can see clearly what is this new normal. Without good statistics, our leaders are flying blind. Without good statistics, our democracies are disabled. Without good statistics, our countries will not be able to see when they need to change course. Without good statistics, people will be in the dark about where they are now and fearful about where they're going. Our job is to help everyone see how they fit into the big picture, to shed light where there's gloom, to provide a unique source of help in troubling times. Better statistics for better decisions, for better futures. 5 years ago, next slide please, I chaired the United Nations Statistical Commission, as Gemma has said. This was the year the SDGs were agreed by all our leaders. In my opening address to the leaders of NSIs around the world, I called for the official statistics community to step up, step forward and step on the gas. I addressed the UN General Assembly on several occasions to assure them that we were ready to be the light to guide all nations on the historic mission to leave no one behind. And the Under-Secretary General has reminded us again that that is the task we are called to do. My personal inspiration now and then was Florence Nightingale. And last month we celebrated the 200th anniversary of her birth. Famously, she was the lady with the lamp, the beacon of light, tending the sick and wounded in the war zone. When she came home, she worked with William Farr and others in the UK Statistical Office to find a voice that would change the world. She was the first female member of the Royal Statistical Society, And we have a year of celebrations across the statistical community to mark her bicentenary. I know many of your countries are involved in those celebrations. It's right to mark it. Next slide, please. The data visualizations that she produced are stunning in their beauty and devastating in their message. They show with outstanding clarity that the main thing that killed the soldiers in the war was the conditions in the hospitals, not the wounds inflicted by the enemy. The soldiers were killed by avoidable and mitigable conditions. In the picture, it is the darker areas in the middle that are deaths from the wounds inflicted by the war. The multicoloured blue tiles show deaths from conditions that could have been treated. Deaths from the hospitals rather than the battlefield. This particular depiction stands in the boardroom of the Statistical Office of Northern Ireland and was actually created by the head of statistics in Northern Ireland, Siobhan Carey, who, as well as being an inspirational leader in statistics, is a great artist and ceramicist. And this mosaic inspired her and inspires her staff every day when they go into the office. It certainly does that for me. But the finding when Florence Nightingale produced this chart, each slice of pie represents a month of the year, and the months rotate. And part of the symbolism of that is unless you take action as a result of these findings, the cycle will continue. When she found these results, she was herself shocked, even though she'd lived through the experience. The reality that she'd lived in was only revealed in its totality by the careful collection and analysis of the statistics. They showed the full picture. They showed the context that could not be seen from close quarters. Her findings changed the whole system of medicine and hygiene across the world. And the new medical facilities in the UK that have been set up to deal with the COVID crisis have been called Nightingale hospitals. And we can be inspired by her as a nurse, but also inspired by her as a statistician. As a nurse and a woman, she cared about people. She saved one person at a time. But as a woman and a nurse, she struggled to get her voice heard by a wider audience. The light from a lamp reached only those in the room. However, as a statistician, she still cared about people, but she found a voice that demanded attention and helped create better lives for everyone. The insight from her statistics was a beacon that reached across the world. So today, as we set out on this momentous decade of action, next slide please, to deliver the SDGs, the significance of our task is in the spotlight as a result of COVID-19. That spotlight has made our task, our responsibility, even clearer. Our work saves lives. Our work enables our governments to take decisions and decisive proportionate action in the face of disaster. Our work aids the creation of jobs and prosperity for all. Our work helps identify injustice and enables the powerless to hold the powerful to account. Our work gives people a special way to assess the state of the world in which we live so that we can act to create an environment we want to live in and a sustainable future for our children. Trusted statistics are a guiding light for better decisions and better lives. If we're to realise this, we are stepping up. The next is to step forward. We have to engage with the challenges our countries are facing. We have to use a phrase which I think is familiar in SGAP, to build back better. To do that, our statistics need to be fast. Publishing results just after critical decisions have been made serves no one. An essential dimension of quality is speed. The COVID-19 crisis has shown the value of near real-time data about health, the economy, and so much more. So how, as statisticians, do we create fast, unbiased and robust estimates and communicate the inevitable uncertainty with confidence. Our statistics need to be fine-grained. Averages add limited value. It's the detail that matters. Which people are being left behind? Where is this problem concentrated? Data disaggregation must be centre stage in our work. How do we turn our methods inside out to reveal the richness and diversity of reality rather than reducing it to measures of central tendency? Our statistics must be relevant. It's no good just publishing the same statistics month after month. What is different about this month that we need to show light upon? It's important, by no means sufficient, to say that we're following this or that set of international guidelines. What matters to us here in our country, in our community? Our job's not done when we publish, only when the statistics are used. And they'll only be used if they're helpful to a decision maker or helpful to a citizen in shedding light on something they care about. How do we develop the standards that encourage relevance, consistency, and comparability? How indeed do we do this? Well, my favourite definition of the role of official statistics is to mobilise the power of data to help our countries and the world make better decisions. And when I started out on my career, I was at university in the 1970s. The biggest challenge was data scarcity. We had to work hard to generate data. We had to worry about the cost of getting big samples. We had to worry about the cost and the time it took to run complex algorithms. The landscape has been transformed. We now have at our disposal previously unimaginable sources of data, previously unbelievable computing power. Stepping forward means finding ways to mobilise the data we need from whatever source. The video we just saw showed amazing opportunities from satellite data, from mobile phones, from citizen-generated data. The main resource we need is now there in abundance, if only we find a way to access it. However, even when we've mobilised the data we need and transformed it into meaningful insight, we must make sure our results stand out as trustworthy. The light from good statistics can often be obscured by the foggy and polluted atmosphere into which we release them. An atmosphere that is full of dodgy data and fake claims. To stand out, we must pierce through that fog and communicate our findings well. And find ways to speak up against those who make false claims. Call them out for what they are. They are corrosive of democracy. They're unacceptable. Democracy can only function on the basis of trustworthy statistics that are, to use the words of Winston Churchill, who founded the post that I did until last year, accepted and used without question. We must be great and we must call out the bad. Better statistics make for better decisions. And our mission is to mobilise the power of data to help our countries make those better decisions. We need to be on the wavelength of those making the decisions and those seeking to hold them to account. We do that through being professional in all that we do, with the highest standards of methodological rigour and personal integrity. That includes respect for those who supply data, keeping secrets private and secure, and following the highest ethical standards. The problems our countries are facing are unprecedented, and we therefore need to innovate to deliver unprecedented levels of service. Restless curiosity is the defining skill of good science. All knowledge is provisional, and we can always improve it and make it more useful. Each of us can have an idea that can transform what we do. Senior or junior, professional or administrative staff, the diversity of our teams is a sure way to unlock creativity, the creativity we so definitely need. Resources are tight, and every dollar, every day of our time is precious. We must make each dollar and each day count. To succeed, we must enhance our capability, the capability of our organisations, but also our capability as individuals. Most crucially, this means always being curious and open to learning, new skills, acquiring new knowledge, learning from each other. It's a sure way to do this. Many colleagues here from small countries or countries with very limited resources already know this well, but it's just as true for large countries with good resources. Only one of us needs to have a good idea. Each one of us has access to the accumulated knowledge of the community of official statisticians from all countries. Events like Asia Pacific Statistics Week provide you with a unique opportunity. So I'd like to finish with a question. Are there any Lord of the Rings fans in the room? I hear there are. Well, if so, you will recognise that this is a Hobbit's view of the world. And for those of you not familiar with Lord of the Rings, the Hobbits were the only people who could be trusted to banish the darkness that was cloaking the world, to find a way to enable good to flourish. They faced many challenges along the way from those trying to stop them, but ultimately they succeeded. In this picture, the Hobbit is perhaps looking out into the world, ready to play a part in stepping up and stepping forward into the unknown, maybe on the quest for better statistics. Be inspired by hobbits or other heroes of fiction or real life that had meaning for you. Be inspired by this opportunity that you've had this week. The current experience of COVID-19 has shown just how essential it is to have trustworthy official statistics. We have together stepped up. In the recent months, our community has shown it can innovate to provide the insight needed and can rapidly adopt new ways of working. This event is a great example of that. Who'd have thought we'd be able to get so many people together from so many different places into one conversation? We have demonstrated that we can step forward. So now we must step on the gas. Every day without the statistics that will assist a decision that must be made, that decision will be made in darkness. We can take courage from Florence Nightingale and all those who've gone before us to make sure our lamps shine bright as beacons. Being part of this wonderful community of friends and colleagues here today gives me, and I hope each of you, the strength we will need to play our part to the full in this historic decade of action for statistics that leave no one and nowhere behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. That was a really very inspiring presentation and speech, and we really do appreciate you getting up so early this morning there in London to join us and share with us those reflections, as well as the call to action. We are in the UN Decade of Action for the 2030 agenda with the ambition of leaving no one. And as our theme for this week says, nowhere behind. And we've just heard two very good presentations. First of all, from our Under-Secretary General and Executive Secretary of ESCAP, Ms. Amita Alcabana, and then secondly from Mr. John Pullinger, the President of the International Association for Official Statistics. And really, they're very inspiring speeches, and a couple of common threads there is about the importance of our task, the significance of our task as official statisticians to shine a light, a spotlight, as John called it, to innovate, as both speakers stressed throughout their presentations, and finally to step up, step forward, step on the gas, to get going and be great, so that we here in Asia Pacific and our national statistics organisations build back better as a result of the current pandemic COVID-19 crisis that we're all facing across the world. So my sincere thanks to both Eva Amida Alcabana and Mr. John Pullinger for really very inspiring speeches. Thank you very much. We now have 5 very professional, very senior official statisticians from across our region who are now going to share with you reflections on the week we've just had, the Asia Pacific Statistics Week. So we've invited 5 prominent people from across our region to share with you their reflections of the week. And then we're going to invite all of our speakers, all 5 of our guests, and as well as John and Eva Almeida, to join us on a panel session. So please, if you do have any questions and answers, please put them into the chat function, and we will direct them to each of our panelists in the question and answer session. But first of all, I'm going to run through, as Eva Almeida said, we have structured this week around 5 key themes, and I'm now going to invite our guest panelists to join with us and share with them their reflections on the week. So first up, it's my great pleasure to invite Ms. Alamua Malafono Tua. We all know her very fondly as Fono, the government statistician from the Samoa Bureau of Statistics. Please, Fono, share with your reflections on the week. Thank you. We're just putting your slides up now, and we're on the first slide there now, Fono. And we need to get your mute turned off. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma.
Thank you, Gemma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and Samoa.
Are more similar to Fiji Islands that John was talking about.
Yeah.
I am honored to reflect on behalf of my other session organizers on Action Area A, which was engaging users and investing in statistics. Next slide, please. So in our action area, we covered 3 sessions with excellent presentations from across the region. And I would like to thank you to all our authors, our session organizers, partners, and support staff. I hope I will do justice in reflection on all the main key areas that we covered in the last 3 days. Next slide, please. So we heard a lot of tips from the 3 sessions, but I would like to focus on 3 most common tips. Firstly, the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs continue to increase demand for data. It is also providing increased support for statistical systems to engage with users and data beneficiaries, to examine sustainable development challenges together, and to improve the statistics needed to measure progress. Now, it is an opportune time to keep building more effective partnerships with relevant stakeholders, partners, users, and data beneficiaries to buy in everyone's support. Secondly, investments are not enough to meet all the demands for data, and it will certainly continue to rise. But what is most important is to ensure that investments are made directly to where they are most needed, and that data will finally bring positive changes on our societies, be it in health, education, employment, agriculture, or whatever sector we are trying to make developments and bring positive changes to our people. We have to make sure that no one will be left behind. And thirdly, we need to capitalize or make use of available multiple data sources for official statistics. Big data and administrative data continue to be an area of interest, for meeting user needs in new ways. Investing in a national indicator framework by working together with all multiple data providers, stakeholders, and users will maximize the return of our investment in official data production. We also need to consider reprioritizing our statistical activities to invest more in users' needs and to bring good changes to our societies. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to reflect on our key points.
Thank you very much, Tono, and really appreciate all the support we have from you there in the Samoa Bureau of Statistics, and actually throughout the Pacific we've had a very good representation and involvement this week. So for all of those of you in the Pacific, lovely to have you joining us here this morning. I'd now like to turn to Dr. Muhammad Urzia bin Mahadin, the Chief Statistician of the Department of Statistics Malaysia. Dr. Urzia is also the chair of the FSAP Committee on Statistics, and we have invited Dr. Urzia to reflect on the action area C of our regional framework, integrated statistics for integrated analysis. Dr. Urzia, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Assalamualaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully everyone is in a good health. It's my pleasure to be a panelist for this closing session of the APS Week 2020. Thank you to our organizer and ESCAP committee for giving me the opportunity to be one of the moderator in this event. Truly, Gemma, after listen to our keynote addressed by John Pollinger just now, is really inspired. It really bring us to the term that the role of the statistician and what we can really fulfill our responsibility, and also what we can provide to the society is really a lot. And especially during the crisis, the amount of statistic and the professional service of statistic needed by the society and the country and also the world is really huge. And the normal way, the normal thing that we done in the past is not necessary to be continued. And we need to really reassess. And I really, I really agree with John that the more important is how we can provide more data in more timely manners at the very fast. The important is the speed, and of course at this aggregate level, this aggregate and segregate. And of course, the pillar of the whatever decision to be made by the country, the resources is always limited, and there are a lot of things that require the attention from the government, and also with the limited resources. So I move on to my session yesterday. So I've been. I'm really great that I got the opportunity to moderate the very important session on the integrated statistics for the integrated analysis. I think this session is very important one, and also we have a lot of good sharing and input from the papers. From several countries, from Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, of course from Indonesia, Philippines, Sri Lanka. and also in area, for example, we touching on in the area of the tourism, how we can use the big data analytic to better understand the scenario of the tourism, and also on the sustainable tourism, because everyone know that tourism maybe at the moment is not really really in the action like what we see before, but moving forward we have to also look at how the sustainable tourism becoming the thing that to be focused by the all the government of the country of the world. And I think the role of statistics, we are grateful that the ESCAP provide us and also several countries to really explore how we can be a model for our journey for the system environment economy accounting. This is something that also really relevant when we talk about the integrated statistics. So we need to, and the more important, Gemma, and also maybe the anyone who follow our discussion here, is the important that I have been done in Malaysia. Is very important is the narrative, how we explain the statistics in the way that it's not only the everyone user can understand, but the public at large. And this is something that I really happy to see in the context of Malaysia. We managed to convey the statistics in more fresh way. I consider is the more fresh way, where we put forward, for example, what the economy statistics show. So we put the review on the statistics in terms of the labor, international trade, the production, on the investment, everything in the one whole story. And this one and is much easier to be picked up by the journalists. They are very much happy, and the narrative easily can understand, and they can know. Of course, the main hurdle now is about how to get back people to work. I mean, the issue of unemployment is really important. So as everyone know, the 2030 agenda is integrated development agenda across economy and socio-economic domain, and of course, based on our discussion, a lot of new thing that we can share, and using the satellite image, and also using the information from telcos, which really can really complement our traditional way releasing the official statistic. So what rightly is said by Paul, John, we need really timely and also the current statistic. So if we at the moment, for example, if we really the unemployment rate for the month of April, but it's already June. Now it's June. So the policy being put forward by the government is to tackle the whole scenario until up to the end of the year. So when we put the statistic that something is already 2 months old during the crisis, is not really helpful. But during the normal time, is not really concerned, because for example, the unemployment is below natural below 4 or below 3 is not the issue. But now when unemployment getting higher and higher, so they're really looking forward at how we can get the more current data. And the good thing about those Department of Statistics Malaysia, at the moment we provided our forecast, our estimation as part of the official statistic for the whole year. And on top of that, we plan to release for the very first time our quarterly GDP flash estimate. So they will help the country and the policymaker to look if the circumstances continue. So what going to happen to our economic growth? So they can know what the growth look like earlier based on the partial information. I think I'm not really sure that whether John touched on the how we want to integrate the way forward in terms of the official statistic is we have to make use what we call partial information as the part of the statistical system. For example, can we come up with the more current GDP estimate based on 2 months data? That's been done by advanced country like Canada and also several other countries when they have the monthly GDP support. I think this is something that I believe that with the integrated statistical system and the more important thing, like when we draw the sample, and the one thing that is very important, when we draw the sample before the epidemic, and we want to make the inferences now based on the sample before the pandemic is not really right. I think it is something that we have also look into it because the structure and the relative importance of the industry is already changed. It's something that we look into it. So in sum, I can say that the session on the integrated statistic for integrated analysis is really important. And now I really put as John rightly say, we need to increase the capability of our people to take the challenge. So we need to have acquire knowledge and so forth. And this is something that we give a very strong emphasis. Everyone have to know how to the flavor of writing, because many people try to stay away from do the critical writing. So now the statistician need to start to write critically and somehow to give the insight. So that's all from me, Gemma. I think that hopefully it can provide some input for the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Erdia, and thank you very much for all the support there from the Department of Statistics Malaysia. It's a wonderful summary. Just a reminder to everybody listening online, if you'd like to pose any questions to the panel or our keynote speakers, either Amida Alizabana or Mr. John Pullinger, please do offer those questions and they'll come through to me and we'll have a question and answer very shortly. It's great pleasure to invite Ms. Aisha Chauda. We know you as Chauda, the Chief Statistician of the National Bureau of Statistics in the Maldives in South Asia. Chauda, we ask you to reflect on our ability to restore quality and instill trust in statistics. Thank you. Over to you, Chauda.
Thank you, Gemma. Actually, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. First of all, I would like to congratulate ESCAP in coming up with such a great, very informative session with so many papers. Actually, and having this live, it made a huge difference. We had gave more opportunity for more people to learn from these papers, and the area of trust, I would like to say, is one of the key. Trust is like the most important thing in the type of work we do. So the action area B, assuring quality and instilling trust in statistics, it had, I was very interested in almost all the areas, but because of the parallel sessions, we were not able to attend all the sessions. there are like three different areas where like how can quality be instilled in official statistics, where we had a lot of papers by the countries, and also increasing trust in official statistics, where transparency on results, and about quality assessments, as we have already, the previous speakers has highlighted a lot on the need for quality. And also on the novel approaches to assuring quality and instilling trust in official statistics. So that is, those are the three key areas in this action area B that had the papers this time. So it was like very rich, I would say, and it's very informative, and it highlighted a lot of issues, and the opportunity that countries are able to like take these papers, and it gives the opportunity to publish in the journal. I think that is like remarkable, because it gives the opportunity to countries to aspire to like do more analysis, more to be more relevant. So in our case, in the case of Maldives, we are still I would like to say we know from the engaging with the international community that we still have a long way to go, but still having this type of statistics week with all international experts and the countries, I think it's an excellent opportunity to learn from each other. So we have a lot of great ideas, what we can do, how like if you so, but with the capacity and the institutional framework, it's important that first we have to, in the case of quality and trust, like you say that we have say that trust, you have to gain trust. Yeah, so it's like it takes a long time to build trust among the data community, and then our data needs to be trustworthy. So for that, it has we have highlighted already the previous speakers on the importance of the following the standards. In the Maldives, we had a global assessment recently where UNESCAP and UN Statistics Division also supported us in having an external review of the type of the systems we have, like the legal background. We all know that strong statistics law is like a prerequisite to support the development of the statistics in all countries. So for statistics by nature, it's a universal. It has to speak to all. So, and we have to like we have already seen that we need to be relevant. We just can't keep producing what we do. So in the time of this crisis, we have seen how resilient, how important it is to be resilient, like to be able to produce what we are doing, and also try to be more relevant. So in terms of the areas and the papers, I think it has highlighted very vast areas, different aspects like quality aspects. Many country papers has been presented, and we have seen papers from like Islamic Republic of Iran, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, and also from Indonesia, Vietnam, Turkey, and from Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan. So all these like some countries have more capacity. So I think that shows the number of papers and the quality of the papers that have been presented. And overall, I think it has been a really good week, and it's a good opportunity for all the countries, because we know that different countries are at different stages of statistics development. But the international community and have this official statistics community where we can engage, we can discuss issues. I think that is really helpful, and together I think we can aspire more and try to gain the trust and maintain the trust in the official statistics. To give a face to like the disaggregation, how important it is to be disaggregated, how important it is to be inclusive. we have to like make sure that the people who are marginalized, people who are vulnerable, we give a voice to them by using our statistics. So that I think I would like to like stop here, but again, it's a really good week. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aouda. And yes, as you highlighted there, our reach of our papers from so many areas, Islamic Republic of Iran, Nepal, Pakistan. We've reached out to so many different, so much talent in our region and so much innovation. It's good to be able to share. And which is obviously, as you say, it's about assuring the quality. Events like this really do help. I'd now like to invite Mr. Usan Mint, the Director General of the Central Statistical Organisation in Myanmar. Mr. Mint has joined us the entire week this week, and it's wonderful to invite you to reflect on modernising statistical business processes. There's a lot of modernisation going on in the Central Statistical Organisation of Myanmar. It's my great pleasure to invite Mr. Mint to share with us your reflections on the week. Mr. Mint, over to you.
Thanks, Gemma. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have to participate this panel section. Action area D covers 3 sessions, and we have excellent presentation for at most 6 authors in each section. I wish to thank the authors and the session organizer for highlighting the importance of the modernization of the healthcare business process in their experience institution. I would like to share my experience in Myanmar. We have started establishing the healthcare business register with assistance from the UNSCAP and the Asia Development Bank. It's greatly improved our healthcare system and coordination of what amount data producing agency through healthcare business register. We have been harmonizing data from across organizations at the lowest level of disaggregating both at the industry and geographical aspects. I would like to highlight, in my view, modernization healthcare business process. In my view, the modernization healthcare business process is essential and inevitable as it provides more level detail, more quality control, and better data for decision making. According to my view, we have 4 steps. The first one is we will adopt the new techniques and even use of the new data source. For new technique, what is the new technique? This new technique is the harmonization concept, reverse standards, and standards. Second step, we will view digitalization improvement of the data collection through digital census mapping, e-survey, mobile application. The third one is the modernization of the business process with digital enterprise architecture. It enables you framework and methodology use of the center across the institute. That overall benefit for modernization of the healthcare business include improve quality and more efficient data management of the data for the decision making. They have challenges remain to the relevance of the user and the institution to accept change with the new normal. True, it is likely that attitude toward modernization business process will improve significantly. Now, most of the sales office, they are using the e-survey, mobile application, high frequency phone survey. They are the new normal process. Now, most of the sales office during the COVID period, they are using the now most of the sales office improve the digital collection too. This is one of the modern business business process. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you very much, Nassim, and thank you for also sharing with us the incredible modernisation effort that you're undertaking there in Myanmar by establishing your statistical business register. As many of us in the statistics world know, a statistical business register is so vital for so much of our business, and it's great to see the development, and thank you for joining us with your reflections there. I'm now going to hand over to our last guest speaker, Dr. Zita Albacia, the Professor of Statistics at the University of the Philippines, Lofana. Zita is sharing with us her reflections on Action Area E, having the requisite skills. And then following Zita's reflections, I will then turn to the audience for any questions. So please do share with us your questions in the YouTube live chat. Over to you, Zita, for your reflections on the week. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Gemma. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And we'll just put your slides up now. Thank you.
Okay.
They're on their way, Zita. So yes, start.
Okay, so while we are waiting for that, maybe we can look at like to greet everybody and thank Gemma and the organizer of this conference for giving me the opportunity to share with you my insights on these requisite skills for the 21st century called statistician. Okay, but actually I was a little bit maybe hesitant to talk about this one because honestly I did not attend or participate in the session for this particular topic because I'm more interested on the other topics in the parallel session. I was in the integrating actions, no? But anyway, I tried to read the papers for this session and put also my views on what these requisite skill sets are. Okay, now I was also amazed on how we try to organize this particular conference. It is I can say an efficient way. It's cost effective, although it deprived us participants to visit Bangkok. But anyway, to go on to my reflection. So on the first slide, please. Yes. The main question for this particular on this particular reflection is what are the skills for the 21st century? Now, 21st century statistician is usually envisioned to be Superman, or we call Superwoman, okay? Which means that a statistician is a multifaceted person. Okay? It has to do a lot of things. It has to manage, communicate, coordinate, process by electronic means the different types of collected data, mine the data, analyze and interpret the results, collect data, must also archive data and evaluate the quality of the data and results. Okay, so it's actually a complete process that we call the statistical business process. Now, this means that the skill needed by a statistician is diversified. It depends on the statistical process where your tasks you usually find most, no? For example, this was the statistical business process model, and we have the process involves starting with the specification of the needs, design and design and build the data collection process, no, which is usually done by managers or the middle level statisticians. Then you have the collection of data, which will be implemented generally by field enumerators, but you can now refer to them as enumerators in general. Now, the processing or the pre-processing of the data that were collected will be done by the IT personnel that are closely working with our middle-level statisticians. Then the analysis of the data is done by the middle-level statisticians. And the dissemination involves the task that is involving the managers and the middle-level statistician. Archiving, again, the IT personnel take charge of this one. And then when we try to evaluate, the managers and the middle-level statisticians once again meet to do this particular task. So all in all, if we look at this task, next slide please, we can have the traditional skill that is needed for each task. We all know that for the first three tasks, which is handled by the manager and the middle-level statistician, need leadership skill on top of the data collection design skill. No? They must know how to design census or survey or the sampling design that you involve in the data collection. Now, I'm thinking that on top of this, the 21st century statistician, I call them 21st century statistician, will have to have additional skill. And that is they must be able to formulate strategy and action plan. And they must have, as given in one paper from China, a statistical talent development plan. I found that paper in this particular session very interesting. That is looking at how we develop the talent or the statistical talent in our organization. And it's not all statistics actually. A manager or a chief statistician or a statistical middle-level statistician must also know the financial operation management. They must know also budgeting, accounting, fund development, and so forth. No? And another thing is linkage formation skill is also needed. That is externally or internally. They must be able to link with other agencies. So there must be a skill for these managers or chief statistician to do that. Now, moving on to the next slide. For the next steps, that is to collect. That is traditionally this is given to enumerators. It's the skill that we have here is for them to interview, because most of the time it's just a face-to-face interview. Now, for the 21st century skill, because it's not anymore face-to-face interview that we are doing, we have more on computer-aided personal interview or with the use of the computers, or skills that in data capturing techniques, like you scan the data scanning of the barcodes to gather data. You try to mine or get data from the open data sources, and so forth and so forth. No, so it's not the enumerators will not only do the interviewing skill. On top of that, they need to know more. Okay. Now, for the pre-processing of the data, we try to put this traditionally to the IT personnel, and they do the data inputting and validation, develop summary tables from the data collected, and create PUF of collected data. But now, it is not only one file data that they are creating, no? They must be able to merge data from data sources to create and manage consolidated database. So because of the different data sources, the pre-processing of data will not be simply managing one file. It is a simultaneous or management of several data files. Then for the analysis that is usually done by middle-level statistician, the generation of estimates or statistics is the traditional way or the traditional task that they do or the skill that they need. That's why usually we handle this for their basic education, that they have these techniques. They know the techniques on how to handle data. But at this point, we now, for the 21st century, we now do the data mining. We want to extract more from the data that we gathered because data are very costly to gather. So we want to extract more. So that is what we get from data mining. And application of advanced statistical techniques like spatial analysis will now have to be done by middle-level statistician in a National Statistics Office. Bayesian is estimation, and the area wherein I'm very much interested, that is the small area estimation, is a skill that is very much needed by the middle-level statistician. Now, to disseminate, traditionally, we just have to deal with the communication skill of the statistician to be able to relate to this, to be able to relate to the audience your results or the estimates that are gathered. But nowadays, there are different ways of dissemination, like we form infographics. So our people must know how to do create storyboard so that they will be able to come up with infographics. The social media platform is very useful nowadays, like Twitter accounts, you have the Facebook, even the YouTube to present your results, and then of course the digital format. Now for the archiving tasks, we usually have the IT people do it physical archiving. That is, they archive the data sets so that in the future it can be, you can have that data. Now virtual data archiving, like cloud databasing or using cloud database, is now a practice to some of our National Statistics offices. Now, for the evaluation, which is trying to get how good your estimates are, data quality assurance assessments are now being are traditionally used, but this time we want to application of external validation techniques so that we can get more money and at the same time monitor the usage of the statistics generated. So isn't it that it's better to know if they are, of our users are really using our estimates? So it's better to monitor them, because this monitoring the statistics that we have generated really inspire others to do more. Okay, now all of these tasks and these skills that I have identified can be acquired. And these are my just maybe suggestions. We have to acquire these 21st century skills for our people. We have the traditional training, no? It can be done at the national level. There are national training institute like in the Philippines. I'm the former executive director of the Philippine Statistical Research and Training Institute, an institute that is different from the Philippine Statistics Authority. So you have a different, that is said to be a setup. You have a separate training and research institute other than the National Statistics Office. But it can be, the setup in your country can be, there's only one, an integrated, all-in-one office, like the one in BPS in Indonesia. In fact, the Indonesia offers the education, the formal education in statistics. That's why they have a continuous supply of statisticians for their office, no? And then Korea also has an institute for their training and research, and so with Iran, and I think also with India and so forth, no? But at the regional level, we are very much thankful that CIAP, the Statistics Institute for Asia Pacific, is there. I think most of you or most of us are graduates or have been part of CIAP. So we are very thankful that at the regional level, the CIAP is there to do the training for us. But nowadays, like in this particular time,
just might wrap up please wrap up very quickly. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just finish this slide. That's the end. Okay, so the different modes, you can have the face-to-face training or you can have the distance online training. Now, the workshops and sharing of country experience can also be a good venue to acquire the skill. And like mentioned in one of the papers, the country visit and the cross-country internship is another venue of sharing, of acquiring the skills. So that's my view on this particular topic. Thank you for your time listening. And again, thanks for the organizer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vita, and thank you very much to all of our panelists here today. They were really great reflections across the group. A reminder, please, if you have any questions, please put them in the YouTube and they will come through to me and I will direct them to the panelists. But to start with, and I certainly invite all of our panelists to put your video on. Shoyuda, Fono, I see John's there. We unfortunately, Dr. Uzia had to leave for an important meeting, but we have Nazaria from our Civil Registration and Vital Statistics, one of the deputies over in the Department of Malaysia. If you'd like to join us on the screen too, Nazaria, most welcome. John, can I ask you first? We've just had some wonderful reflections from across the region. Some reflections on the reflections, John?
Okay, I mean, a couple of things struck me. I mean, the first one was just how consistent the kind of message was coming through from everybody, despite the amazing diversity in the countries that people were coming from. And part of that consistency was also, I sensed a real feeling of optimism and positivity, which was great to see. And also, most of the panelists kind of mentioned the COVID-19 experience and the extent to which we've really been reflecting on what that means for us in a professional sense. So I thought that was really very striking, that kind of common position. But in terms of specific points that people said, I thought Fono's emphasis on partnership was a really strong one that I think has come out throughout this week, but I think especially kind of hearing from Samoa, where you kind of have to reach out to really create connections. I thought that was very powerfully put. Dr. Uzia's focus on narrative, I thought, was a very nice one as well. It's not about the numbers, it's about how we communicate them in a way that meets the needs of citizens and journalists and politicians. Shahuda started off with trust, and I thought that was a really important thing that has come through in many of the sessions. I mean, how do we become trustworthy? And the words she used, I think, really resonated nicely for me. Mr. Mayant, as you said, the modernization in Myanmar has been inspiring, I think, and I think that is something that many other countries could reflect on and learn from. And finally, Zita's point about the kind of modern skills and just how they kind of layer on top of what we've already got. And I think she started by saying we're kind of asking for a unicorn, and I know in my office when I became the chief, there was an inflatable unicorn that was flowing around the office, and people were saying this is what we must be. But so I like that kind of imagery. But the precise thing I really liked was the idea of a skill in linkage formation. And that connects with this issue of partnership. We don't all have to know everything about everything, but if we can make the links to others who have, we really have a powerful combination. So I think it's been a brilliant panel, and it's been great to hear from everybody.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much, John. It's a very interesting mix. And I'm just going to pick up this comment about partnerships which you raised there, and which also was stressed through so many of the presentations there. And I'd like to turn to you, Fono, there in the Pacific, and Samoa. One of the reflections you had around engaging users and investing in statistics was the need to, engage users. And it's a real skill set to engage users. We're all trained very well in how to produce official statistics and how to disseminate official statistics. But I'm wondering if you would reflect on your experience in investing in that skill set of engagement in building partnerships. Is there any lessons you'd like to share with us? And we just need you to turn your mute on. Oh, off though.
Thank you. Thank you, Gemma, and thank you, John, for that summary of reflections. Engaging users, as you certainly, as you rightly pointed out, it's not an easy job to do, especially when you are a very technical person with statistical skills. From my experience, I think as we spoke maybe in the last 10 years, we haven't been able to do that. We kept to ourselves doing our usual data collection, compilation, report writing, and all those stuff without actually getting the network from other people who are going to use the data. So as we move on and kept on doing our census and surveys and trying to link to our national planning framework, we realized that it's important for us to reach out to other governments, ministries, and also the private sectors and the communities. And so that's how we built, we started building that relationship. And as we build and make a lot of make our network much stronger, we are now the focus of our SDGs framework, indicator framework. I mean, we've just had our consultations of our second voluntary report, and the Statistics Office was the main partner in that national SDG task force. So the priority was given to our official statistics as the priority source of data for our national SDGs. And before we seek out to other alternative statistics from other partners, statistics that we trust. We've been talking about trusted statistics, and that's why also in our sessions we mentioned that using standards, methodologies, so that people can actually trust what we do. So going back to engagement, I think that's how we've been very successful in doing our census. We have very high rates of response rates when we do our census, when we do our household surveys, because we are very engaged with our partners, all the governments, ministries, and also our community leaders. You know, I think in every country you have a separate thinking for your culture. So we tend to incorporate also those culture and customs so that we make sure that everybody's involved in our network. So I've seen from our sessions that we've been running of engaging users, I think that is one of the most successful ways of actually gaining support from everybody, especially the data users. We need to include them in our dissemination, in our advocacy, because they are the ones who will be using the data. And so also when we collect data and it's not used, then what's the use of doing it? It has to be useful. And that's why this topic is really important to us. And also, I think not only in Samoa, but also for our partners from other NSOs in the Pacific. I know Asia are doing really well in there, but we are getting there as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sono. I'd now like to invite Ms. Iota to spoke to us of her reflections about instilling trust in statistics and assuring quality. And the Maldives is one of many countries across Asia Pacific who are very active now on social media and making use of social media platforms. And we'd just like to hear from you as the chief statistician there in the Maldives around how do you find the use of social media and the issue of trust? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. Actually, we realized that we need to be out there. We need to engage the population, and we have the advantage in the Maldives because we are a very young population, and everybody is into mobile phones and they are in the social media. So that is why we try to engage, but we know that not everybody is on social media. So that's one way we feel we will hear from the people what they need. So that is one main reason for doing that. But in terms of trust, still and the capacity issues, we are still learning in this area. We see it's very inspiring, from other statistical officers what they are doing. So that's also one platform where we can learn. Every time somebody disseminates something, like Dr. Uzair was saying that this is how they have done. So it's a learning platform also. So that's what I feel. And then to be relevant, we really need to make sure that we hold our ethical standards, be professional, and always if there's something we release, so that everybody will have to get it at the same time. So it's giving the opportunity when you don't have the capacity to consult everybody at the same time. So in addition to all the social media, we also do other types of dissemination as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that getting out there was something that actually both many of you spoke about this morning, and actually was also a topic in many of the talks throughout the week. John used the phrase of it's our task to be in the spotlight. I think the 2030 agenda is an opportunity. We're being called upon to be in the spotlight. COVID-19 is also giving us an opportunity to be in the spotlight, and we have these tools like social media, and we now have this tool in front of us, the ability to do virtual conferences, virtual meetings, and connect. We at the end of the day, though, are also all faced with the challenges of the ongoing production of our statistics. So COVID-19 is giving us an opportunity to start new statistics and do things new, but one of our hallmarks of official statistics is our long time series and our trusted statistics over time. And COVID-19 is having an impact on that. And we have with us today Ms. Nazaria, who is from the Department of Statistics Malaysia and leads up the demography and vital statistics area. And I'd just like, the vital statistics, births, deaths, marriages, all those vital statistics are so fundamental to all of your institutions. How are you finding the COVID-19 is impacting on your ability to maintain your vital statistics series? It's really important for that trust. Over to you, please, Ms. Nazaria. Lovely to see you. We just have to, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Gemma, for the questions. Yeah. For the case of Malaysia, actually the civil registration and vital statistics is quite affected by the COVID-19, whereby the Department of Registration is not part of the essential service. So all of the offices are virtually closed, but the registration at the Ministry of Health as well as at the police department is still open. But at our end, we are unable to get the full set of data. For instance, in March, we only get like about 20% of the data. So we have to use our time series data and our sum estimation method to estimate the vital stats for March. The same goes for April, and for the services is only open in May, if I'm not mistaken, like in middle of May. So actually for us, we have to revert to our estimates and our modeling to provide the vital statistics for the month of March and as well as April. In this way, actually, like for us, as the Department of Statistics, for who is doing the production of the vital statistics, actually we have to be ready with a very good estimation method and modeling so that we can take care of the situation. But it's very unfortunate at our end. We know that the data is available at the Ministry of Health, and we know the data is also available at the police department for those who are registered through the police department. But we couldn't get hold of the data, and for the ministry, they are all out for the COVID-19. So they don't really have any personnel left to cater for the data. So very unfortunate. But if we have the link prior to the COVID-19, let's say for the data from at least from the Ministry of Health that is online, if it can be channeled to us, then probably we'll get about 60% of the data. So we will be in a very much better position to produce the vital statistics. But we are very fortunate. The service is already on, but the issue is still there, whereby for those who have not registered, because the registration is being bring forward after the movement control order, and we still don't know how much actually from the real cases the registration of the vital statistic is already registered. So we have yet to know how much is really catered after the movement control order is being lifted little by little. I think that's the situation in Malaysia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And I think the civil registration and vital statistics is just one example of many statistical series that you all produce and maintain, which is quite challenged at the moment because of COVID-19. The civil registration, your national accounts, your labour force series, and so we're having this two tracks at the moment. We're having to modernise and produce new statistics in response to the new demands from government, as well as maintain the quality of our existing series. So it's on one hand a very exciting time. It's also a very challenging time from across the region. So thank you for sharing us. I'd just like to also now ask Mr. Van Mint there in Myanmar, who has joined us this morning and reflected to us on the topic of modernisation. And all of us are here this week using this virtual platform. And we've just given the opportunity for 85 staff from across the region to learn how to prepare a presentation and a paper and give a presentation and a paper using these virtual tools that we're coming to you today. And all of our panelists are also learning how to use these virtual tools. And so I'd like to ask Mr. Mint and any of you if you found this experience of using these virtual tools beneficial, and do you see yourself using them in the future, by using the virtual tools for your staff, for your training, for your users? So just ask Mr. Mint if you could reflect on how you've found the use of these virtual tools this week. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks for your question. Myanmar has a decentralized system. Business services coming from the range of the different ministry and different sources. Myanmar government authority responsible for the registration and licensing business and maintaining a form of the register. There are so many responsible agencies. For example, for the community registration, we have every enterprise, every company must register in the Directorate of Investment and Community Registration. But for the industry sector, industry enterprise, manufacturing enterprise must register Directorate of Industrial Supervision and Inspection Department. For these small business, they are also registered in the Department of the Small Scale Industry Department. For most of the registered, some of the register are registered with General Administration Department also, but most of the register engaged in the Development Affairs Organization, or we call the city development. We have a 3 city development committee and the more than 300 township development affairs organization. That's why CSO is conducting the business registration survey with the support of the Development Affairs Organization. But in most of the register, most of the enterprise and business registered with the Development Affairs Organization. That's why we have developed the project on Social Business Register with the financial and technical support from the UNSGAS and the Asia Development Fund. Now we are using the paperwork form. Now we have a small transfer for the Directorate of Investment and Community Registration. Now they are using the online registration. Now this is a modern. This is one of the large modern business registration. That most of at the time of the COVID period, most of the enterprise and business want to register online. That in Myanmar, we have only, I think, the one of the department online registration in Directorate of Investment and Community. Most of within the COVID period, they don't want to go to the office. Now they want to register the online registration. But up to now, we don't have the online registration in the Development Affairs Organization. That's why for the new business, modern business processing, they have to change the registration system to the paperwork, to the the online registration. That's one of the now we are introducing a mobile button that registration from the one of the state with the support of the university. This we call this is the mobile button that registration. This is one of the kind of project in Myanmar. With the support of the UNICEF, but that pilot project will be finished by within this year. After the pilot project is successful, we will expand it on the whole country. Okay. Are there any questions now?
Gemma, you are on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm on mute. So no, that's great. So the COVID-19 is and this virtual presence has helped encourage people to register businesses online. So that's fantastic modernisation, as well as the staff working from home. So really some benefits there. Zita, one last question to you. You shared earlier that you sat through very many sessions around integrated statistics for integrated analysis. As a professor there at the University of Philippines and as a former head of the Statistical Training Institute, how are our youth? Are our youth shining? Have we got a good future cohort of statisticians coming through to look after our business? Zita.
Yes, I was amazed by the participation of the youth in this particular conference. Maybe they are more at ease on that, let's say, this kind of way of communicating, presenting through a conference, virtual conference. So that's why they are more at ease on presenting data, presenting paper. But generally, the paper has quality. The papers that were presented have quality, and I was really, maybe you can say, proud that our youth is really delivering what to expect of them. Some of them are my former students. That's why I'm feeling proud that they will be able to deliver such good paper. But in general, across the different sessions, I think the youth is delivering. Okay, that's your answer.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zita. And John, all the way from London, where the day is just starting now. One last word to you, John, before we move into the closing part.
Yeah, well, to follow the metaphor I had in my speech, the dawn has now broken in the UK. It is pouring with rain. I will probably be able to turn my light off in a minute. But I think this session and this week has really reinforced to me that we as official statistics are one of the most vital of public services. And we have inspiring people doing amazing things every day. But often in our own place, we are under a huge amount of pressure and life can feel very, very difficult. But we know from this conference that we have a common language and we can speak with each other very easily and we can draw strength from each other. And this has shown just how strong those connections really are. And I think everyone who's been able to dial into this meeting, particularly the younger statisticians, maybe their first experience of seeing this community in action. We are all here for you. So my message to everyone is listening, remember the people you've spoken to this week and turn to them when you need help, because they will always be generous in giving it. Thank you, Gemma, for your generosity in inviting us and in leading this event so magnificently. It's been a joy to be part of it.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you very much to all of our panellists there. Ms. Fono Tua from Samoa Bureau of Statistics, Ms. Ayuda from the Maldives National Bureau of Statistics, Dr. Mohammed Uza bin Maladen. Please pass on our thanks, and to Ms. Nazara, who joined us this afternoon because Dr. Uzia had an urgent engagement. Mr. Sun Mint from the Central Statistical Organisation of Myanmar, and Dr. Zita Albacia from the Philippines University. I'm now going to share a few closing remarks and give a few thank yous. Please do stay on the line though, because we have a very special treat at the end of this event where we all will come together in harmony. Just a few closing remarks from myself. I'll just share my screen and run my slideshow from here. So just checking with you, Goy, can you see my first screen? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, thank you to all of you from across the region. It's been a really great week. Hopefully I captured your greeting, your thank you on this slide. It's been wonderful. The theme this week has been about leaving no one and nowhere behind. And I started this week with this slideshow here of the diversity of our region in Asia Pacific, and we just had 85 wonderful presentations, as I said, as far west as Turkey, across to the Pacific, and we've had participation from across the region, from all age groups, from all situations. So I really do think we've left no one behind. We've also left nowhere behind, and not only did we reach out to Asia Pacific, but we've reached out this morning to the UK. We also had guests from the Northern Hemisphere, from our colleagues in New York, from the World Bank in Washington, and right across the world. It's been really very easy to connect internationally for an Asia Pacific Statistics Week. A big thank you though to all of the authors that started this journey last year, submitted in abstracts for participating in this week. We had over 300 abstracts submitted. These were then reviewed extensively by my team, by colleagues in the International Association of Official Statistics, from the ISI, the World Bank, from across the region. That network of official statisticians peer-reviewed your papers, and 85 were selected for presentation this week. So thank you for all of your efforts, for putting in effort into your papers, for responding to the feedback, and for all your presentations this week. We've just done a very simple word cloud here of what were some of the key words that were coming out from your papers. And in session A, around engaging users, some of the big, most frequent words were around women, development. There was many papers around the violence against women surveys that are undertaken in our region. So this was violence against women rather than violence as a particular word. For instilling trust, the key word here was use. Use our statistics, and we've heard that again and again this morning. For our statistics to be trusted and for them to be quality, they have to be used. Quality is not just about accuracy, it's actually about use. Are these usable? So this is a really key word for instilling trust. In terms of integrated statistics or integrated analysis, so many different areas that we have here: surveys, systems, estimates, import processes, informing, lots of different aspects in the integrated statistics, integrated analysis. Modernisation, very pleased again also to see the word here: use, survey, processes, as well as maps, time series, rates, big data. So lots of ideas for modernisation. And in terms of having the requisite skills, it's about talent. And I asked Zita there from the Philippines for her reflections on the sessions, and she said definitely a lot of talent here in Asia and the Pacific. We have the skills, we're growing the skills for official statistics. I'd also like to thank the extensive partnerships we've had with so many people. I've just put here the names of our panelists this morning. We also had Mr. Gita, the Chief Statistician from Geostat in Georgia, joined us and chaired a session throughout the week. We heard on Monday from Lisa, and we heard today from Mr. John Fullinger. We had excellent organisation also from Ms. Nilima Lal from Malaysia, Ms. Aykan Ozek from Turkey, and Mr. Hazard from Afghanistan. And our partners on the towards the bottom there, Mr. Ronald Jensen from DESA in New York, Mr. Oliver Chingrana from the Africa region, Ms. Darcy Dink from the World Bank, Peter Everest from the Statistical Journal of the International Association of Statistics, and our Jessica Gardner and Matthew Searing. And both Jessica and Matthew have been very instrumental this week. And I'd also like to highlight that Matthew not only has helped us this week, he's also the capacity officer for the ISI, the International Statistics Institute. So we've had very good weeks. I'd also like to extend a huge thank you to ESCAP, to my team, to all of us. We're running this international conference in work from home conditions. So we're all working from home, bringing you this international conference. It brings its challenges, but my team's the whole ESCAP team's done a fantastic job bringing this event to you this week. Many of them are in the room there now, managing the technology, but also the reviewers, the session partners, and many of you know who I'm speaking of. It's been a wonderful event led by the ESCAP team. I'd like to now just put some statistics on the world, and now we're all at heart statisticians, and these look like a random selection of numbers, but there is a common theme here. And if any of you want to start guessing what that common theme is, now's your chance. But let me just run you through what some of these statistics are. We had 2 plenary sessions over 4 days. 8 international organisations gave presentations across 15 parallel sessions. 18 countries were authors and gave presentations. We had 18 different countries were represented in the presentations from 85 different authors. Today, this event, I've just heard from the team, we've got nearly 350 people attending this closing event, and we had over 1,000 people registered for the Asia Pacific Statistics Week. So this random selection of numbers here have all got a common theme of the success of the Asia Pacific Statistics Week 2020. We're doing this as part of the Decade of Action of leaving no one and nowhere behind. And it really is important to reflect not only on this session now, but the entire week about the importance of our job, of the importance of our institutions, and our ability to, as John says, let's step up, let's step forward, let's step on the gas. I do particularly like that, that phrase. And before I turn to that final slide there, just 2 more comments. The next step, we will be, all of these sessions have been recorded, all the papers will be available, they'll all be accessible from our website for you to reflect on and refer back to. As this event does not stop here, we will be preparing a selection of the papers will be selected to go forward to the Statistical Journal of Official Statistics. And again, the Official Statistics community will work with you to review your paper and make it ready for submission to a professional journal. We're very excited to offer you this opportunity this year. And for some of you, this may be the first time you've put, not only first time that you've given a presentation at an international event, but the first time you've submitted a paper to a professional journal. So this really is a decade of action, not only for you, it's a decade of action for us. And I'd particularly like to mention that this is the ISI International Year of Women in Statistics. And it's really great to see so many women participating. And actually in our panel just now, we had four women from across the region joining us on a panel, and it's wonderful to see such high participation in this International Year of Women in Statistics. So thank you for a wonderful week, to my team, to all of our panellists today, to all the organisers, session support team. It's been a really great week, and we really do hope to see you next year in the 2021 Asia Pacific Statistics Week. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma.
Thank you. Dia tak main pun. Kalau tak main, orang dah thank you, orang tutup dah.
Please stay on.
Doesn't matter far or near, strength in numbers, we don't live in fear. No. Birds of feather flock together, statistics a form of artery. We'll always live it up, so let us live in solidarity. And in the world arena we'll succeed. It is statistics that will come to be the reason we will bloom in harmony. Everybody undivided, data is where our hearts reside, and there will always be a bind. Just like fire that ignites, that's how brightly lit our dreams are. We'll reach higher than the stars, sending love to one another, leaving no one in a slumber. We'll stand with unity, mustering our courage while embracing our disparities. We'll achieve our victory. With unity, one love, with harmony, one dream, with unity. So let us live in solidarity, and in the world arena we'll succeed. It is statistics that will come to be the reason we will bloom in harmony. Everybody undivided, data is where our hearts reside, and there will always be a bind. Just like fire that ignites, that's how brightly lit our dreams are. We'll reach higher than the stars, sending love to one another, leaving no one in a slumber. We'll stand with unity, mustering our courage while embracing our disparities. We'll achieve our victory.
Wow, that's wonderful. I think hopefully our recording is finished now. But,
Phew!
Phew, wonderful. That worked extremely well. Thank you, John. Thank you, Phono. Thank you, everybody.
No, it's perfect. Well done to you and everyone who's been involved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It works very well, and you've got to have very good internet connection. But even like during the week, you know, Phono, like you turn your video off, it improves. But went very well. Mm. Oh, I wouldn't jump to organising an international